Hello everyone, hope you're doing well, hope you're doing after yourselves. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Curtain, where we discuss important topics with great guest speakers. This is the first episode of 2025, and we have an amazing guest speaker on today that you'll be hearing more about and learning more about their journey. As I always say, I don't like to do introductions, I don't like to tell you about the guest speakers. I think it's best for us to hear from them ourselves. So I'm going to hand over to today's guest speaker. Could we know a bit more about you and what you do?
Thank you so much for this invitation, first of all. And yes, my name is Chiara, and I'm 25 years old, and I am Italian Nigerian. I moved to the UK in 2018, and since then I've been living here in London, and I came here basically to study biomedical sciences, and this was at Brunel University.
Nice. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. And we're going to dive into more about your journey and learn more about Chiara and essentially your unique story. Because you mentioned it in your bio on our website, and even on like LinkedIn, which is where when I reach out, your journey of like sort of finding out what you wanted to do after university. Because I'm sure that your audience can agree that once you sort of like finish your degree, whether it's undergraduate or master's, even a PhD, you might sort of be a bit confused, unsure of, maybe concerned about what your future career looks like and what you could get into. Let's start with our first question. So it's all about the foundation of your journey and your very unique background you've got. As you mentioned, you're Italian Nigerian. From your bio, you mentioned that you've got a background in languages and humanity, and that led you to, from that, you eventually went into biomed. So essentially the question is, and if you need it, please let me know. But what inspired your transition from a background in languages and humanities to pursuing biomedical sciences, and how did that shift shape your perspective on women's health and fitness?
Wow. The question is already... Well, yeah, it's a good question. So in terms of how did I transition from my background in languages to sciences, human health specifically, it was because in high school, in Italy, we do 5 years of high school. And at the moment I was studying, it was a linguistic course. So I was studying French, Spanish, and English, as well as Italian. But that was common to him. Yeah. I was also doing lots of other subjects, including sciences. And I had a particular teacher who, let's say, literally transmitted to me the passion for sciences and understanding the human body, how it works, and how resilient is the human body. And it was fascinating listening and actually coming to lectures all the time. And it wasn't even hard for me to study. It was just listening during lecture, and I was learning by that. However, I wouldn't deny my passion for languages because that will be my first passions anyway. But in terms of how I made my final decision to study an undergraduate course in sciences is because it was a little bit personal, because one of the teacher, my Spanish teacher, actually I cannot say that.
No.
Sorry. No, but one of the teacher was sick, and I just wanted to deepen my understanding about sickness, and I dove into the study of diseases and cancers. So this is how I end up to biomedical sciences and understanding human diseases and human health.
Perfect. And I guess with the second part, would you say sort of that journey helped you to shape your perspective on women's health and fitness?
Sorry, can you repeat again?
No, so with that inspiration that caused that transition from from a passion of languages to a passion about like the human body and and sort of like learning more about like biology and sciences. How did that sort of shift in going from one area to another? How did that shape your perspective on women's health and fitness?
Well, how did I land into fitness or women's health specifically, or both?
I guess it's sort of looking at both, because I guess it kind of links into the next question, but I won't go into the next question yet. But you are obviously, you're very passionate about fitness and health. You are a competitive athlete. We will also ask you for the next question what you compete in, what sports you do, because we've got a few people who like athletics on the teams, and then will let me not ask. But yeah, it's all about, so with this transition. So after a group, like, moving from just from that passion of languages and humanities into biomed, once you went through that sort of like, I guess, shift in like maybe mindset, maybe in passion, through that shift, what enabled you to specifically be interested in women's health and fitness? Because you can ask anyone who studies biology and they might say like, oh, I'm interested in how the brain works, or I'm interested in how, the respiratory system works, how do we breathe. Some people are interested in like how we dream and what the body does when we dream. So how did even, I guess is a better question, did that your passion for languages and humanities and that passion for biomed, did sort of both of those areas help you to find your passion for women's health and fitness?
Yeah. In 2013, my mom took me to the track and field. And since then, I've been there all the time. I became very passionate about athletics in general, specifically running. But actually, as soon as I started athletics, my coach or the other coaches that were there in the track and field in the team, so they see my talents for throwing. Oh, so no one's forgets, but I actually was a shot put thrower and hammer throw. Yeah. So I had the chance to compete regionally, nationally, and also internationally. And that was lots of hard work, but it was always a big passion. It was not always easy to reconcile sports studies and any other things I wanted to do in my social life, but I guess it's the passion that always leads, and also discipline and hard work. So I actually stopped last year because I wanted to dedicate myself more on my career growth and exploring different areas of the working industry. But it's something that I really miss. So in total, I've been doing it around for about 13 years. Yeah. And when I came to London, specifically Brunel University, I worked really hard to like get myself noticed and started join athletic clubs. Anyway, when I applied to Brunel University to my course, I didn't know that. See, to me, I didn't know that Brunel University was so important for sports, like so prestigious and stuff. I didn't know. I literally applied blindly with blind eyes. Then when I came, because the transition was pretty much quick. As soon as I finished, I took my diploma in Italy. I came straight to my undergrad. So I graduated in Italy in languages in 2018, the summer. And then I came straight in August. And September was already in the course. So when I came for the first time to campus, I was like, oh my gosh, what just seeing the indoor the outdoor. Oh, it was so inspirational. So I always wanted to work hard to get myself noticed and not only noticed, but also to build, to become strong, um, to get opportunity to participate in, you know, competitions among university. And it was difficult the first years, but eventually on my last year at Brunel, I managed to get the sports scholarship. Yeah, and it was a dream. It was a dream. Really happy about that. So this is where my passion for fitness comes. And in terms of how do I link with women's health? Well, women's health is basically what pushed me really to study biomed because I wanted to understand more diseases and cancers affecting women. So this is why I really wanted to focus my scientific interest into. Um, and along this journey, I find out that, I mean, I didn't reach anything yet, but in the future, I would like to use these passions, scientific passions, for women's health with fitness by, for example, um, helping pregnant women in joining or starting a fitness journey. Field.
No, that's really incredible. And I think the key thing to sort of highlight from what you just said is it's also like, it's very interesting that obviously you're studying biomed, but through, I guess it's that link of like both your passion and your like what you're passionate about and your studies like linking, because obviously the things you learn about how to improve women's health and fitness will be very beneficial to you as an athlete, because you're sort of like learning tips to help yourself like develop and grow. Which I know for some people, especially, and I know we'll talk more about like people who feel unsure about their career choices and like what to do next. But I think, like you mentioned, like it's really, that's one of the key things that's like can help address that, is it's getting that knowledge to know like, oh, like if you're interested, like if someone wants to start a business in, I don't know, like they want to start like a health-based business and it's around like maybe mental health and well-being, and they're studying psychology and they're learning tips about things that people can do to relax, or if people have a mental health condition, these are sort of like ways that they can sort of like look after themselves. Even simple things like, oh, if a student has a mental health condition and they've been diagnosed, or even if they haven't been diagnosed, where can they find support, and sort of like where are these support resources, or like how can lecturers be more supportive, or students and stuff like that. Learning all that information can be very powerful and help you to sort of like find also. So it's two things. It's one, to figure out like your own like figure out where you fit in that space. But also it can help you to figure out your career opportunities afterwards, because you'll then see like, oh, there's like two areas that, these two areas I'm very passionate about, I link. And like, based on my studies, I can find a job that sort of combines those two things, which is really incredible. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing. We're now going to answer the next question, which I think you may have answered a bit, but I'll ask you anyways. If you want to add more, please let me know. So as I mentioned, you are a competitive athlete, and you sort of touched on it there, that there is, like I know, like for myself doing, like I wouldn't say I was back, but I did athletics for a bit. But I know, like an intern I had for over the summer last year, he's an athlete. He does 100. I think he did. If I got it wrong, he knows what I'm talking about. So if he's watching, I got it wrong, I do apologize. But he does 100 and 200, I think. But that literally, as you said, like when it comes to anyone who does a sport, when it comes, it's that like rigorous training, because there's sort of like a mindset and a discipline that you have to train yourself. It's not just on like when you're training for for competitions or stuff like that. Like for this is ages ago, my family got me a Usain Bolt book for Christmas, and like he was talking about, people think so it's like a bit where he talks about like how he was training for the different Olympics, and he said people think as soon as Olympics done, you win, maybe you win, maybe you don't. like, that's it. You then just like, oh, I just need to like take it slow and then continue next year. But he said, no, that's the complete opposite. He said for him, he was like, for a lot of athletes, after the big like Olympics is wild scale, but they've got different, like they've got yearly competitions that they can go for. They still have to keep themselves in shape and train. So there is like a discipline that comes to it. So essentially it was to say that you've developed this discipline through the sports that you've done. But how has that influenced your approach to overcoming personal and professional challenges? Because, having that mindset, whether it's through athletics, whether it's through business, like owning your own business, whether it's through being a freelancer, maybe you're sort of like, you're decided you want to do a career change, whatever it may be. Having that mindset to learn about like perseverance and training and hard work is something that doesn't only impact one area of your life, it can help you in all other areas. So how is the discipline and the resilience you've developed with your athletics, how has that influenced how you approach to overcoming personal and professional challenges?
Yeah, another good question. Yes. Athletics, for any sport in general, especially done at a certain level, literally force you to train in a certain way, develop a certain type of resilience, as I said, and discipline. Back in Italy, I used to train. The training was from Monday to Friday, every day. And anytime I was missing one day, I felt, okay, I'm going to miss something in my performance, in my competition. So I think most of my discipline comes from that. If I don't do something, if I miss something, then I need to work double to gain that back. And yes, I've applied this also to my other area, whether it was educational or professional. But I would say in a positive way, because practicing athletics also helped me to know myself better, know my limits, and also trying to understand how can I organize my time. Time management is very important when it comes to trying to try to do studies, sports, and whatever, even part-time job. Because when I come to London, I try to be financial. How do you say financial?
Secure?
Independent. Yeah. So London expensive as well. So yeah, I always try to work part-time or full-time whenever I could. And this also impacted my social life. I didn't have much time dedicated to like attending societies or, go out with people at uni, all those things. So that is something that I wanted to do maybe a little bit more. But yeah, in terms of how this impacted me professionally, yeah, it helped me to understand my priorities, to find out my priorities, first of all, and also trying to understand how to manage my time.
No, I think that's really good. And I think that's true, as you mentioned, that, it's, like we said before, it's the skills that you sort of like keep with you as you like, that help you. But also, as you said, I think like one key thing you mentioned there was the like, in a professional sense, the understanding of like you said, like, especially in like sports, like not everyone wins. So whether it's like football, athletics, like tennis, like people, they'll like someone's gonna win gold. Like certain ones, it's like there's gold, silver, bronze. Certain ones, it's like you either win or lose. And I think it's very much, even though in a professional sense, like when you're applying for jobs, it's the same thing with like 30 people can apply for one job. Only one person is going to get this job. And it doesn't matter, if one person, has been working on that application for a whole week, someone literally sent it the morning of the deadline. Same with the interviews. Some people, I know people that, after, like when it was coming to time of graduation or like just after graduation, they were like applying for loads of jobs. They had done a lot of interview prep. Some people didn't get a job straight away. Some people apply, they were just like, I'm not going to apply for anything until I graduate. And, the first job they applied for, they got interviewed for, and they did really well. But I think, like you said, it's the understanding of...
I guess that, It's also preparing myself to setbacks, because obviously I'm not always going to win. Actually, in my whole 13 years, so many times I didn't win, and it doesn't have to be, by force, okay? So, and the most important thing was the journey, the time, the effort, was something comforting at the same time.
100%.
And yes, the same thing with jobs. It was really hard after graduation, finding also my own way, what I wanted to do. Because I didn't mention before, but yes, my passions for science is understanding the human body, but I never had a profession in mind. So this sometimes was tricky, because I felt, well, after graduation, what am I going to be? I just wanted to study. I just wanted to learn. I usually enjoy learning, so I'm really passionate about learning stuff without having a precise reason why I'm learning something. So, but there was that thing about what am I going to become after? Because all my peers in my course, they sort of knew what they were going to do. Some were going to be doctors, were going to study medicine. Some others, they wanted to be in the lab the whole time, all day, every single. I didn't want to do that. I really didn't want to. Actually, sometimes I was scared about, why am I studying this course if I don't want to be in the lab all the time? Ironically, now I'm a lab technician. And I love it. So yeah. But these thoughts sometimes, they were really there to affect my actual experience at university. So that's why after graduation I was a little bit confused, because I never really took.
We're going to go on to the next question, and this one is more about, as you mentioned, your current role. So anyone who follows you on LinkedIn, actually, wait, no, I got it wrong. I missed our question. So we're going to go back. Before we go on to your current role, we're going to talk about, you sort of actually, funny enough, touch on it. So we might actually be moving ahead, but let me know if you want to answer. So, you mentioned in your bio, it mentions that, you had faced setbacks and insecurities after graduating. Even after, unintentionally, what we just discussed about, the finding out what you want to do and all of this stuff, and applying for jobs, not hearing back or not getting it, can be very tough. So if you feel like we've answered this, again, like I said, we can move on to the next question. But the question was, what strategies or mindsets helped you navigate those challenges and rediscover your true passions?
Yeah. I am someone that question myself a lot, and sometimes this is not helpful. So after graduation, but also before graduation, till a certain point when I literally decided this need to stop, I was always trying to have everything right, everything perfect. As I was always trying to have the right answer. But at the same time, I had so many questions that I couldn't answer. And the only thing to me was to quiet now sometimes and just explore. And also accepting the fact that I was in that particular position mentally, and also maybe mentally. So accepting the fact that I didn't know really what I wanted to do. So, but I knew that there were things that I wanted to try.
Yeah.
Not, how can I say, even though they were not going to be my final destination, I knew that there were things that I wanted to try professionally. So what I did was write down a list of things that I wanted to try. And I started doing them slowly and see if they were for me or not. But in terms of mindset as well, I had to honestly talk to myself and understand what really makes me happy, what really, what my passions are. Because at the end of the day, even if it's a job that you want to do for your whole life or for a certain time of your life, you want to do something that makes you happy. So I had to find and define my passions or simply things that I like. Sometimes you are in a journey where you need to discover your passions. Or
mental health is really important to us at Pick Up the Mic, and we love to share resources that can support your mental health. And that's why we are so glad to have today's sponsor. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get you started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live appointments when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't right for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom-picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at an affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/pickupthemic. I've also linked them down below in the description. So again, that's betterhelp.com/pickupthemic, MIC, and start your journey today.
Because I did a few internships and experiences, both in Italy and here, with children in primary schools. And also when I was in Italy, I loved it, but I was a tutor. You said tutor when you help children, in their own. Yeah. So I was tutoring in French and Spanish as well, and I loved it. So at the back of my mind somewhere, there was a voice telling me, "Oh, you have to be a teacher." Yeah. So first things I did after graduation was find a job in the school, and I did it. I didn't continue, but it was certainly life not life changing, but an important experience I did because I was working in how's it called now? Special need educations, and I was working with children with autism and other similar disorders. And it was really, really an important experience for myself in terms of growth, personal growth. And I loved it, but again, I didn't continue because there was other things I wanted to try. So if in the future I want to come back, that is always a door that can be reopened.
Of course.
But I did something else after. I wanted to work in the hospital then because I wanted to find my way closer to understand what can I do with my biomedical science degree. So I decided to find jobs in the hospital, and I studied with administrations, and I work as a receptionist. And this allowed me to understanding the environment, but also understanding how hospitals works. Also deepen my as a receptionist. My goal also was deepen my my customer service skills, specifically with patients who are vulnerable people. So I wanted to develop the skills of being able to connect with vulnerable people in the hospital. And I did it. After some months, I was grateful, always grateful whenever an opportunity comes, because it's an opportunity to learn and get new skills and also understanding of how they work the working environment is. But again, I didn't stay there because I felt that I wanted to do something else. I wanted to try something else. Yeah. And I would like to understand that it's always positive, not in a negative perspective. So are just phases of my growth. So afterwards, I I wanted something more for myself. And I went back to my primary passion, which is women's health. And, how can I say? I also had to deal with lots of insecurities because anytime I was finding a job that I potentially liked, I always had to think that maybe I wasn't good enough. Yeah. And maybe I was. Maybe I didn't have all the requirements, all the 100 requirements, but I had some. And there was times where I was saving the job, they said job advert. Yeah, the job advert. And I wasn't going to apply anymore. So I was leaving the job over there because I wasn't 100% sure about my skills, my abilities. But sometimes you just need to think, just try. It doesn't hurt to try to apply, yeah? But yeah, I have to work a lot with my insecurities. And that time when I was a receptionist and I felt the need to change, I really need to put in a light my passions, my insecurities, and also my ambitions in terms of not destinations, but what I want to try in my life, in the next phase of my life. And so I tried to look for jobs that were in line with this. And yeah, I tried to apply. And this anyway required a lot of courage because sometimes you really need to talk yourself and put yourself out there and come out from your comfort zone. So this is what I did.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think it's really key, like you mentioned just there, that it's about putting yourself, like trialing new things, putting yourself out there and being okay with like change. Because as you said, like I think what I'm trying to say is it's very important to be aware that you can try different things, you can do different things. You don't have to like be rigid and stuck in one area of your career. So you, like you said, you might find that, there are people that, turn around and say, actually, I want to start a company like 20 years after they graduated from uni, or they might say, actually, after working in this field for a bit, I've actually realized I'm not really interested in it anymore. And it's like we said, like it's being open to sort of seeing like what is like very important to be aware that what your degree is doesn't mean that's what your career has to be.
Yeah.
And you can jump into like different career options as well.
Yeah. One of the consultants you used to go at Brunel to the
PDC.
Yeah, yes, exactly. I remember this phrase from her. She used to tell me that your degree doesn't define you. So I really took that thing to her and tried to stick to that all the time. Whenever I was during my course, but also when I was trying to apply to different jobs.
Yeah, thank you very much. We're going to go on to the next question, and this is all about, as I mentioned, your current role. So you're currently working in women's health research at Imperial College, and it'll be really interesting to see how does this role align with your interest in equality, diversity, and inclusion, and then also what impact do you hope to make in this field? So yeah, those are the two things we're asking.
I mean, the roots for this goes back to, I think the first year when I came to London, because on my own, I literally found an event on Eventbrite, and this was at King's College, yeah, and it was about, again, Black women and breast cancer, still within women's health. And I that is when I understand about, I start coming to, I start understanding the meaning of equality and diversity. For many different reasons, I wouldn't talk here, but quality and diversity is important in that care sector. Because, for example, in research, which is something I'm doing right now, it's important to have a diverse, how can I say, a diverse, sorry, my word, Brunel. It's important to, for example, recruit people from different backgrounds in order to make effective a study. Yeah. So quality and diverse is something that comes from that, but I'm exploring it more right now that I'm doing research for these things that I just told you. Um, but again, it became very relevant within my interests when I did an internship. Um, well, as soon as I graduated, the first thing I wasn't straight to go into education, but I work at Brunel University, and the internship was actually equality, diversity, and inclusion within the curriculum on biosciences. So my role was actually analyzing the curriculum within biosciences and making sure that it was inclusive enough for both students and staff. So I was really grateful for that role because enabled me to understand and learn skills, not really uh, relevant to biomedical sciences, but skills in terms of organization and writing reports and and analysis as well. So
It's really
that was,
incredible, and I think it's nice to see, like you said, that you're that you're still doing something that you're very passionate about, and it's still linked to like all of the work that you've been doing.
yeah.
So it's incredible to see that that's been like a through line of like everything that you do, because I know as we sort of discussed with like navigating setbacks and insecurities, like I know there are some people that probably even listen to this that maybe they're in a job that they aren't really passionate about, or they're not really passionate about their field, or maybe they're studying a course they're not really interested in. And that's why I tell people that sort of like outside of making like, well, people, I think someone like, oh, definitely older than me said it, but they were saying like outside of like picking the person that you end up spending the rest of your life with, um, and that's, well, they said there's like a lot of big choices that you make in your life, but what you study at university it's an important choice. And especially whereas now where like university is a lot more expensive than it was like 20 years ago, people say that it's very much important to be aware of, if you are going to go to university, do something that, once you've finished it, you'll be happy to do it. Because like I tell people, I say that it's, the degree, yes, is 3 years, but I said, you like in those 3 years are not, especially your third year, it's not going to be easy. It's going to eventually get to a tough point. And I tell people this is the same with masters. I I went straight from doing my undergrad to my master's, and I tell people, I think like I'm happy that I did that. I don't say people should or shouldn't do that. It's up to the individual, but I do tell people that like a master's is a lot harder. Like everyone says it, and people are just like, no, how can a master's be harder than an undergraduate? It's only 1 year. It can't be harder than my third year. I tell people it will be more harder. It will be not just hard. It will be like almost feel like 10 times harder than your master's, than your undergraduate degree. And I think the biggest lesson that I learned was, as you mentioned, is because I liked both my undergraduate and my master's, that's what enabled me to sort of like keep on going. Because if I didn't like it at all, I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have stuck with it. But I think, as you mentioned, it's like, especially with your role and what you're currently researching, it's great to see that that's like you enjoy the work that you do. But then also it's really interesting because, as you mentioned, you're now like finding other areas that you can support outside of just sort of like your full-time job. So whether it's, supporting it as whether someone's working like full-time or part-time, maybe as another part-time role, whether it's sort of like volunteering with other organizations, like to find, once you know that area that you're passionate about, there are other things that you can then sort of get into. And then I guess on a more like standing out as a job candidate, like stuff like that is really good on your CV, because then you can show, okay, so you you've had experience, maybe like work experience, in the sense that you've had like part-time or full-time roles, but you've also shown that you do stuff outside of just your full-time job. So that might be, as I mentioned, it might be running your own business. It might be you do volunteering, you do like you run projects on the side. Maybe you're a freelancer. So there's a lot of like things. So doing those things allows you to also like stand out because, on your CV, you're no longer just person A. And I tell people, especially when you're at university, that's the best time to do it because like you've got a lot more free time when you're at uni than you get when you're outside. But I said that, people say that that is a unique thing because when you're applying for jobs, it's no longer, I'm John who's studied biomed. Now you're John who maybe studied John who studied biomed, but maybe John's, volunteers at a youth charity that supports young people with health conditions. Or maybe it's about like Josh who he's very passionate. So he's studied computer science, but he's also passionate about like teaching people about like technology. And he's got his own YouTube channel where he breaks down how to like use tech and how to repair it and stuff like that. So it makes you stand out as a candidate when employers and recruiters are looking at your CV. Yeah.
Yeah, if I can add.
Of course.
The thing that really helped me to get the job where I am now is not biomedical science. Is what I literally took with me along all this journey till now. So my experiences while I was doing biomedical, I studied biomedical sciences, but also my volunteering experience, my passions, very importantly, and also maybe my ambitions for the future. So why I really wanted that job, that role. It's important to take it. As you said, it's not just your name and what you studied, but what you can bring to the team, why you want to be there, and what motivates you.
100%.
So yeah,
definitely agree. And I think
the only reason why I got this job is because I had things motivating me. Sorry.
No. I think I'm gonna say, like you said there, like your passion and your motivation, like that's like people don't think about it, but like you mentioned the PDC. So I worked there for my placement for my master's, and like that's one of the things that the people who do like the interview prep say is if you just apply to do so the team I was in specifically looked at placements, but they were saying if you're applying to do just placements or even like after you've graduated you're applying for jobs and you're only applying because you're just like I just need this job because I want money and like I just want to get an income, like not even through like now everyone's not everyone, but like people sometimes use ChatGPT to like write their CV and all this stuff. But people said it doesn't matter how great your CV is. If you go to the interview, like the interviewer will be able to tell from the interviewees, they'll see from the way they ask you questions, are you passionate about this job? Because what I think sometimes people don't forget, or what something people don't remember, is that when you do apply for a job, you get interviewed, and as someone who's interviewed not only for like hit up the mic, but I've also been a part of interview panels in like different organizations. People do like take into account, have you understood that there's different parts of this job? So I think the biggest thing that my team manager like gave me was she was saying like, and even my manager had to be there, like they both mentioned like not every job is going to have parts that are boring, and even if you feel like I'm going to run my own business once I graduate from uni, there will be parts of running your own business that you will find boring, and whether that's doing your finances, whether that's like you have to create content and you're working on content and doing posts on LinkedIn or whatever, like there will be parts you don't enjoy of your job. But the reason that you do your job is because you're passionate, like you said, you're passionate, you have ambition in whatever that the overall arching role is. And interviewers will like, not necessarily like if you don't show passion or if you don't answer it properly, you won't get the job. The interviewers will be able to tell like, if they're discussing the role and maybe you're just saying like you're really passionate about something that is not in the job description, but is maybe something the organization does, they might be like, oh, this is great, but this role is not for this person because, it might be like, I don't know, someone loves Formula One and they apply to work as a part of Formula One's like accounting team. And then someone says, they're just like, oh, I love the cars and all of this and all of that. they might be like, yeah, you're a great candidate. You clearly love our company. That's amazing. But unfortunately, there might be opportunities for you to work with this team, but your main role is accounting. We need you to do accounts. So you have to do, and I think that's what sometimes people forget, especially as a graduate, is you need to have the stuff to be able to do stuff outside of your job description. You need to do the stuff in your job description really well, and you need to understand what that is. So it can't be that you're just like, so let's say you work in like a hospitality environment, maybe you're an event host. It can't be that the one thing that you like about your job is managing only the team, because as an event host, your role might involve like speaking to people in public, working with the people in different spaces. It might involve like collaborating with different teams around like within the organization, making sure that there's food and drink if needed. But those are things that you have to do. If you only come in and you say, like, I love leading teams, I'm a great team leader, and this and that, then that shows to the interviewer, you haven't read the job description. You don't know about, like, everything that, that this role entails. And that's not to say that, like, if as a graduate, you wouldn't get the job because they'll be like, oh, you don't have everything. But especially, and I'd say, like, as this is something that, like, I guess since graduating, I've also come to realize is you need to also, like, when you're applying for more senior roles, that's also what takes into account. So if you're going to go from being like an administrator to maybe being a manager, it's about how do you show you've got that managerial skill. And the way that you do is through showing that you're not only doing your job description, you're doing things outside of it that maybe shows that you're, I don't know, like if the role you're applying for is a managerial role and maybe it's more about like community development, then you can show actually like I build communities like through my job. So I definitely agree with that. It's really important to sort of highlight that. We come to the last question, which is, we're at the time of recording, it's January. I think only master students would have graduated at this point, but it is possible that, there will be current students who are in their final year. They might be thinking about, their career path. Maybe they're uncertain. There might be people who have already graduated and they're sort of feeling uncertain about their career paths. So what advice would you offer about embracing self-identity and finding purpose in their journeys?
Well, it's something that I have to do for myself, and I'm still doing, to be fair. But it's really important. Acceptance, self-acceptance, whatever is your circumstance, and also whatever is your current self-being in terms of your feelings and aspirations, or even not having aspirations, but being ambitious or something else. It's important to accept oneself.
100%.
And as I did try against the odds, I get some people are scared, but if you don't come out of your comfort zone, if you don't try, if you don't put yourself out, you will remain hidden. So, definitely coming out of the comfort zone.
Huh.
And I would say be faithful as well. That thing's gonna come, and sometimes you just need to be patient. Cause for me, this role came at the right time, in the right way. Cause it's not always, even when I was looking for jobs before, it never happened to me to really find these types of jobs like lab technicians, not lab scientists or things like that. Sometimes sometimes I was reducing myself to a certain level where sometimes I could have been more, but this role was perfect for me because it was lab technician, women's health. So sometimes it's just a matter of time. Be patient. And the setbacks I had before, maybe the rejection I had before, was meant to be. But I had many, but now I'm understanding that this role was meant to me, was waiting for me. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think, as you mentioned there, that like sometimes we can always see like failure as a bad thing and sort of feel that it's not like because you're not where we want to be, sort of not achieving those targets and like doing those things. But it's very, I think, like you mentioned, it's very important to see that sometimes, like, my dad like usually says like rejection is just redirection. And it's about like seeing it as that, because like you said, you might not get the job you thought you, or like the job that you really wanted at the time, but then you might find that the other job that you get is actually really beneficial for you. And I've seen that, you know, in my own personal life. I've seen that in the lives of like friends and family. They're like, sometimes you'll be like, even, you know, outside of like just jobs, like maybe you're applying for funding, maybe you're applying for like awards and stuff. And then sometimes you might see that actually you get more from like, just like you said, like putting yourself out of your comfort zone and, you know, applying for things than if you had to, you know, do it on like do a person, like if you hadn't done it. So I think that it's really
better than nothing.
Exactly.
What can happen?
Exactly.
Yeah. But I think it's also maturity. Sometimes you're not mature enough. Sometimes it's just a matter of becoming more knowledgeable of what you really want to achieve. So it's fine. Maybe you rejected this time, but it's because you really need something more when you apply. But this doesn't have to put you off. You keep doing that. But sometimes for this time, I would say I was more mature. So I went to a job interview where I had a certain level of maturity, not again in terms of biomedical sciences knowledge, but in terms of what I really want to do. So sometimes it's just a matter of that. But it doesn't have to scare you even if you don't have it. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you said, like even there are some roles that, you know, people are very much happy, like, and I know there's also like this could be even a whole podcast episode. I know there's a lot of research that shows that like when it comes to men and women not feeling like they're qualified for certain jobs because maybe they don't have everything, there's stats that show that men are more likely to apply for a role that they're on paper technically not qualified, like they don't reach all the job requirements than women. But I do think, like you said, like a lot of jobs, especially for less like senior jobs, like obviously like if you just graduated, you probably couldn't apply to be the director of the company. But I think especially if you applying for like entry level roles, a lot of organizations are more than happy if you don't have like all those skills.
Exactly.
I wouldn't necessarily say that's something you have to highlight in the interview, you know, unless asked about it. But I would say that, you know, in my experience or in the experience of like others that I know, a lot of organizations are happy to turn around and say, actually, you know what, I can see that you're a great candidate, you really love the job. I know you haven't got maybe skills on this software or that software, but you know what, we're going to offer you the job. Like any company is going to train you up on like what you need to be aware of anyways. And a lot of companies are happy to sort of like do that training with you because it's just that is if you're that's, and I think like that's what you mean, like, well, that's like we said, like it's very much about if you're very passionate about the role, the company will more likely be like, actually this person's a great person, you can see they love, you know, they'll be a great fit for the team, they're very passionate about like making a difference. And to us it makes more sense to just get this person in, train them up for a couple of weeks or months, and then we know by the time that they'll get to a stage where they'll just be great at this and we won't need them to do it. And I think that that's one of the things that people do feel like maybe they see, I don't know, like there's a role you have to be proficient or like skilled in, like if you're applying for a videographer role and you maybe don't know about video editing tools. Like I tell people, like, especially now that like there's a lot of like free tools, but there's also a lot of tools on YouTube that can like help you to learn, like even stuff like that.
Yeah.
I know, like one thing before we wrap up is I know my team manager, she's like a spreadsheet guru. So she knows how to do all kinds of things in Excel and make spreadsheets, like track across different like documents, all of this. But she said like she finds it kind of funny to say, but she sometimes gets a lot of her spreadsheet knowledge through an Instagram account that just posts like quick tips on like Excel. So she was saying that like to her, that's what she really likes because there's, you know, she's not necessarily following this account because of work or, you know, the organization said her Excel spreadsheet skills are bad. She's just like, no, I actually like data management. And she was just like, yeah, it would be cool to know, like, how can I do this task a lot quicker? Like, how can I ensure that, the quality of the work could be better? Or even, sometimes people use Excel spreadsheets for like budgeting for themselves, not for a company, not for business, but it's just for a personal thing. So even like knowing how can I, make my spreadsheet, reflect my budgeting and do all of this is really interesting. And I think is really key. So that's what I would say is like be very much aware that your passion will get you far, but also if you're passionate about a tool or a software, like don't feel like you only have to work on it if it does overlap with your work. You only have to work on it during working hours. Like if you do want to improve those skills for stuff you do outside of work, definitely like try and use those skills. We're going to wrap up the episode there. It's been great speaking to you, Chiara. Great, yeah, thank you very much. If people want to connect with you, how's the best way for them to do that?
I need to think of it. Well, our LinkedIn, Chiara Okeke, and Instagram, don't do so much at the time. I'm really focusing on working hard. But Instagram is like can be also very important for learning and working. And yeah, LinkedIn is the best thing.
Yeah. We'll have your name up there on the screen somewhere here, so you can click that. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming back to another episode of Behind the Curtain. If you like this episode, like, comment, subscribe is always appreciated. If you want to make sure you don't miss any other episodes of Behind the Curtain or any of the other episodes from my YouTube channel, make sure you click the notification bell at the bottom of the video. If you want to support Pick Up the Mic and the endeavours that we do, maybe you want to see some merch, some discount at some of the events. As we mentioned over the last couple of videos, we will be doing events in person and online events, so definitely keep an eye on the space. We're going to do more than we did last year, that's the plan. Then make sure you're either a member of our Patreon or YouTube channel membership community, because those people will get early access to these events and they'll also get discounts to them as well. As well as finally, if you want to know about our different channels, we've spoken about it a few times over the last year, but it will appear on the screen and it'll let you know how you can follow the two Maesters, Pick Up the Controller, or 10 Days of Anime, and that breaks down our gaming, sci-fi and fantasy, and anime YouTube channel. Yeah, we're going to wrap things up here. We're going to close curtains on this conversation. We'll see you next time when we speak to another guest speaker about another cool topic. So that's bye from us here. Have a great day.